was a complete quick clean sweep. He won the popular vote as well as the electoral college. Did you cry?
No, no, I'm not. But I'm not a crier. If I was more emotional, maybe I would have.
Not a tear? Nothing?
So as you might have guessed, woke destiny broke down, completely melted down on election night. And in this one, we're going to have a look at him discussing that meltdown and what went wrong with Piers Morgan on the Piers Morgan Uncensored show. Let's go ahead and check it out.
Since Trump's stunning victory, there's understandably been rivers of tears shed by some of our regular uncensored contributors, and we feel it's important to check in on them just to check they're okay. Here's how my final guest today reacted in real time as the results came in.
They're still outstanding. Are they not counting them here? What's going on, Vadim? Why isn't Philadelphia counting votes? I want to know what is going on. What the hell is going on right now?
Well, by popular demand, Destiny rejoins me now. Destiny, I can't imagine this could have gone any worse for you, could it?
There are ways it could have gone worse. I think the writing was probably
How?
on the wall. Obviously, I have to do a stream for. Well, I could think of a number of ways it could have gone worse. We could have lost every single state. Could have been the Reagan landslide that everybody wanted it to be. But I think the writing was probably on the wall when the Florida vote started rolling in, and you saw that Miami had flipped red. But listen, we got to do a show. You know as well as I do. You got to keep it entertaining for 12 hours. So we were engaging in some high-level Bernie math into the deep hours of the night, trying to see if there was a way for Harris to win. And it was a fun time.
I mean, look, it's been an absolute debacle for the Democrats. Why do you think it's been such a crushing defeat?
Honestly, I think that I understand that we have to keep our jobs and we have to make sure that our jobs are important by telling people how important they are. But I think the real answer, because all the analysis was done earlier by all of these panelists, especially Roger Stone, who's an American trader, was absolutely ludicrous. I think the actual answer is Americans just kind of vote based on the economic vibes they feel. I think that when Biden won in 2020, it was because COVID. Everybody felt horrible. The economy was like everything was crazy. Not just the economy, everything was crazy. So people voted for Biden. I think that when Biden came in, I think we had a lot of inflation early on. People still feel the cumulative effects. So then they vote Trump. I think it's probably as simple as that. You can try to reach to all of these other things, but basically every other point brought up earlier was just factually completely and totally ridiculous and incorrect. The idea of weaponizing the DOJ and then bringing up New York State. The fact that Donald Trump has done every single thing that you guys earlier were accusing the Biden admin of doing, except 20 times worse. I don't think at the end of the day, Americans don't care about that. If you talk to an average person, they're not going to tell you about the Department of Justice is weaponizing, blah, blah. They're just going to say man, shit's expensive right now. Fuck. And that's about it, I think.
I mean, that is partly true, certainly on the economic part. I agree with you. And I think I would add immigration and the southern border crisis as being a major added component to that, because people resented the fact that not only could they not afford to feed their kids, but there were all these people coming in illegally on the border and putting extra pressure on public services and taking jobs and so on. I think you can't discount that.
That's not.
Well, you would discount it, but I wouldn't.
No, I would discount it because the Republicans discounted it. If the border was a huge issue, then the border bill wouldn't have been shut down. They would have negotiated harder on it. But they didn't. They shut it down because they knew it wasn't a real issue.
So he's still sticking to the Republicans don't want border security because they shot down the border bill that included money going to Ukraine and basically facilitated more of these illegals coming to our country via asylum, which we all know, the people that have at least been paying attention know that these people aren't truly seeking asylum. It's just a way that they were using a workaround to get into our country as easily as possible, right? So what Destiny is saying here is complete nonsense, besides the part where he referred to people voting because of the economy, right? That was, in my opinion, a huge contributing factor that nobody could ignore, regardless of if you are on the right or on the left or independent or libertarian, etc., right? It's the economy, stupid, the old saying, right?
People care about things like the border and immigration because Republicans told them to care about things like the border and immigration. The reality is unemployment is incredibly low. If you want a really big top line takeaway from this whole thing that would be interesting that nobody will discuss because it's incredibly boring, perhaps the Federal Reserve targets politically should actually target things like inflation more than unemployment. Maybe on a political level, maybe it was worth it to suffer 8 or 9% unemployment rather than so aggressively trying to target an inflation figure and keeping unemployment low. Maybe, but that's a macro econ question.
When you get a result like this, Destiny, notwithstanding your chilling self-confidence, which I obviously admire as a trait, Do you have a moment of self-awareness where you just go in the mirror, wow, I was so wrong?
Do you think that the Republicans had a moment of self-awareness in 2020?
What a
Well, that
loser.
wasn't the question. I just wonder whether you had a moment of self-awareness.
I look at the figures as they come in. I try to analyze what the public is. But this idea that like the Democratic Party needs to do some huge soul searching after the Republicans, tried to coup their way back into office when they lost the last election. Nah, I think that's ridiculous. I think the double standard is ridiculous. I think that the passes that you guys give Trump are absolutely insane. I think at the end of the day, it's just voting on your general economic trends. The only tragic thing is that because the economy has been righted in such a positive way, and nobody knows it because nobody talks about it, but the United States is outperforming basically every other country in the world on metrics like inflation, on metrics like unemployment, on metrics like real wages. Now that the ship has been righted, we're in a situation again where thankfully a Republican can come in after a Democrat has, I complained about this before on your show, after a Democrat has righted the ship after an economic catastrophe. Trump did it after Obama, and now Trump is going to do it again after Biden, and now he can try to take credit for all the things that he wasn't able to do in his administration, right? He couldn't pass infrastructure. Biden did. Now when stuff is getting built, he's going to take credit for it. He couldn't bring manufacturing like chips back to the United States when he tried to tariff China. Biden did with the CHIPS Act. Now Trump could take credit for it as that stuff gets built. So, the cycle of politics continues.
This guy is suffering complete and utter loser denial, right? And the reason why, or at least in my opinion, the reason why he's afraid to answer Piers's question there without referring to Republicans and just answer the question of self-reflection is because I think he believes that there's going to be some unrest coming from the left this time, and he's afraid of taking a position because he doesn't want to be on the wrong side of it. He doesn't want to be misquoted, or actually not misquoted, but quoted in this saying, yeah, we need to self-reflect. And then here in a couple months, if the left does their own version of January 6th, or if Kamala Harris does something like not certify this election or something like that, because it's the job of the vice president to certify, he wants to have some wiggle room there to, I don't know, weasel his way into a position where he can continually try to take this position of high ground, even though they just lost. They lost in a landslide. Okay, maybe some people don't like saying landslide, but they lost handily, and he wants to be able to justify the left's reaction if something goes awry from the left as it relates to the peaceful transfer of power. We'll just say that, right? Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. Something's up with this dude.
When you realize that Trump had won the White House, the Senate, probably the House, he's going to get another 2 on the Supreme Court probably. In other words, a complete clean sweep. He won the popular vote as well as the Electoral College. Did you cry?
No, not. But I'm not a crier. If I was more emotional, maybe I would have.
Not a tear? Nothing?
I mean, I was streaming all night. If there were any tears there, you would have seen them.
Destiny,
I will say though, I haven't seen any Democrats try to take over the Capitol building. We'll see on January 6th. Maybe I shouldn't hold my breath, but we'll see.
Well, actually, the odd thing actually has been the singular lack of protest. I mean, I felt this at Madison Square Garden when I went to that rally, and the Secret Service told me they were expecting thousands of protesters, and 150 people turned up. And I've been really struck being in New York. There've been no protests whatsoever at this thumping Trump win. It's nothing like 2016, which makes me think the Democrats massively miscalculated in trying to continue to play the he's Hitler and blah, 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 because that's not what people are clearly feeling, or they really would be out in mass protests.
Sure, but I think Democrats are also able to lose elections. Conservatives can't, right?
Yeah.
Because we're a little bit more grounded in reality. Like, the election outcome is either we win or we lose. On the conservative side, the only outcomes are we win or it was rigged. You saw it, and no Republican that you ever bring on this show will ever admit it, but Donald Trump said that the election was rigged this year. Like 2 days ago, he was literally saying, we pulled up the tweet as the Philadelphia votes were started to roll in. He was saying voter fraud in Philadelphia. I saw people tweeting out that in Detroit, they're bringing in the vote dumps or whatever. So they were calling it rigged before they had any evidence, just like he called 2020 rigged with no evidence. They still believe it was rigged, just like he called 2016 rigged because he didn't win the popular vote. So, I mean, like, yeah, when the election can only be rigged, or when the election, is going to be won, of course they're going to be more prone to throw a temper tantrum than the Democrats are.
Well, for the record, I did not think Trump had the last election stolen from him. I said it to his face, which enraged him, but he didn't. But this one, he's absolutely won fair and square, and it's good to see the Democrats accept that.
Yeah, we'll see if the Democrats actually accept that as the peaceful transfer of power yet looms in the balance, right? But the fact that Destiny just said that only Democrats are the ones who can lose gracefully after what we saw in 2016 after Trump's win. I mean, literally, Russian collusion rumors were so bad that people were getting blocked on social media for questioning it. And Donald Trump himself spent, over $50 million on an investigation looking into his own potential cheating or Russian collusion that, cleared his name, frankly. But he did it to appease the left, the Democrats, who wouldn't stop crying. And even today, there's people that believe that the Russians helped Donald Trump win in 2016. Just ask a Democrat and they'll tell you, right? So you can't sit here and take the high horse, the high position, and say that, yeah, we lost, we'll bow out gracefully. That's just him virtue signaling, because he knows the rhetoric from the left has been that Trump is this bad guy that does all these things. And so if he turns around and basically admits that the left is going to do the same thing, that makes them all hypocrites. That means that they have zero actual position. They have zero principles on anything. They basically will say and use and do anything that benefits their own party, regardless of it if it makes them look hypocritical or inconsistent or anything like that. They just want to win, and they're actually not smart enough, and they don't care enough to have any type of principles. If they did, they wouldn't stand up so hard and fight for the evil things that the Democratic Party supports in the manner that they do, or at least in my opinion, right? If they really valued life, if they really value the sanctity of elections and our democracy, they would truly respect the fact that Donald Trump won the popular vote this time. Democracy worked for Donald Trump this time. And, it's just hard for them to accept that the majority of the country actually believes that Donald Trump is better for our next 4 years than Kamala Harris or any other Democrat for that matter. And it's painful for somebody to accept that. It's physically painful for these people to leave the cult, right? The liberal hive mind virus that has infected so many of these people with Trump derangement syndrome, including Destiny. And look, the future looks bright, to steal a phrase from Patrick Bet-David over there at the PBD podcast. I love it. The future looks so bright. You can see it in the stock market. You can see it in, crypto. You can see it in so many aspects of life. Even some grocery store chains are out here trying to bring down their prices and things like that. So the effect is already happening, and Donald Trump hasn't even been inaugurated left. Even Hamas is calling for a ceasefire now. It seems like the ship is being righted. Hopefully Donald Trump protects himself in the interim until he gets into the White House and then beyond, of course. We definitely don't want anything bad happening over the next couple months or the next 4 years for that matter. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm going to wrap it up there. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video. That's what really helps out the most. And most of all, thank you for watching to the end. That also helps tremendously. So, and one last thing, I wanted to let you guys know I am starting a second show per week. I'm going to go live on Wednesdays, I believe at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern time now, as well as Saturdays at 8 o'clock p.m. That might change to 6 just to have a consistent start time. But we're moving from just the Saturday show to Wednesdays and Saturdays. So come join in, say hi, engage in conversation. I have a lot of fun doing that. And we've been having a lot of fun these last couple shows. And it's been great to see the turnout. But hey, if you don't have time, if I miss you on the live shows, I'll definitely see you guys in the next video.